The longer you've played the harp, the more you've probably heard about slow practice and how important it is, especially when playing hands together. And if you've been following Coffee Break Harp for a while, you've likely heard me say this in quite a few videos. But what if you try it again and again, but your pieces aren't getting any better, or you still cannot play them smoothly hands together? I'm Zuzanna, I'm a harpist and a harp teacher, and in today's video I will show you 3 things that you need to remember about so you can make your slow practice work. Slow practice does require a lot of focus and discipline. That can be especially true if you're already familiar with how your piece is supposed to sound, as then you can likely hear it in your head when you practice. Resisting this temptation to keep up with what you hear can take a lot of effort. So if you've already tried some slow practice, you can congratulate yourself right now, because you've taken this first step that is often the hardest. Slowing down is meant to help us stay focused when there's a lot going on, as it gives you more time to think about what you need to do next. For this to work on an instrument like harp, you need to look ahead and anticipate the next thing that you need to do. For example, if you're using your both hands to play an arpeggio, which is divided between the hands, going hand over hand like this, the reason why we would practice a section like this one slowly is to give each hand more time to move over the other and be ready well in advance so that they can play the next group as soon as the other hand is done. But without looking a little bit ahead and seeing this coming up a little bit further in your score, you won't give your hands the chance to get ready. Even if you play ridiculously slow, without looking ahead, your left hand will most likely end up being caught off guard when it's time to play. And you will lose all the advantage that this slow practice could possibly give you. This can be challenging, mainly because harp can require looking a lot further ahead than other instruments. But I'd like you to try and look even just a few notes further beyond the ones that your hands are on. Slow down even further if needed, as that will make it easier. In fact, as long as you remember to look ahead, it doesn't really matter anymore how slow your tempo is and how far away you might be from the speed you're supposed to play at, because when you make looking ahead your habit, you will be able to get your pieces up to speed in a much shorter time. Now, some spots will be more tricky than others when it comes to looking ahead, so if you want to know more about how to navigate your way around them, make sure you check out one of the earlier episodes of the Coffee Break Harp, where I talked about 2 stumbling blocks that you will find in literally every harp piece that is out there. I'll put it for you here and in the description of this episode below. When you are looking ahead, you will spot quite a few different things that may be coming up for you in the score. In the earlier example, we were talking about the left hand needing some heads up about coming over the right hand and being placed an octave above, but it could be also a placing bracket, a slightly unusual fingering, a lever or pedal change you need to get ready for, or a chord where you need to read quickly a few notes at once, rather than one. Regardless what it is that you see coming up when you look ahead, you will find it much easier to tackle when you are very clear about what kind of challenge it is, and when you can give your hands some very clear instructions about what they need to do. One example of such clear instruction that you could give to your hands in the earlier example with the arpeggio is saying left hand up, or even left hand up an octave. If there is a pedal change, you could say, for example, right foot to A. If it's the fingering, try to narrow the message down to a short, clear hint. For example, if you're practicing for the first time the sort of fingering that you would find in Bach's Prelude in C, where you need to place only third finger before playing third and then second, your short and clear instruction could be only third finger or no second finger. You will know best what's most meaningful to you. For many people, a cue saying what to do works better than hearing what not to do, but you need to find what is most meaningful to you and, most importantly, try to play and see what works best. When there's lots going on in the music or you're learning a completely new piece, it's a good idea to work with just one new cue at a time. And even later, when you're more confident and you're trying to add more cues, I would only work with up to 3 new ones in a section. If there's more, you first need to make sure that the earlier ones have settled and are working for you well before you add a new set of instructions. One little side note, these kind of cues can be really helpful when you're dealing with performance anxiety, and especially if you're right in the middle of a performance and you start hearing this little voice saying things like, "Oh, I made a mistake," or wondering, "Has someone noticed?" I don't know about you, but for me, the absolute worst is hearing, "Oh, I think this is going pretty well." The moment I think that, things start falling apart. If that happens, you can use these cues that you've learned and practiced earlier to silence down that little voice and come back to where you are here and now and the next immediate thing your hands will need to do. It really is a lifesaver. On many instruments, the sound is made right at the moment when we touch it, as it is, for example, on the piano. The sound happens when you press the key, and you don't need to keep your finger on that key to be ready to play, because it's enough that your hand is somewhere nearby. The nature of the harp, though, is such that in order to make the sound, we need to be on the strings a little bit early. If you watch one of my earlier videos on raising, you will know that one of the 3 key elements is pressing the string a little before you play, and for that you simply need to be there, on the string. Another reason why placing well ahead of time is so important is that very often we get a few notes connected under one bracket, and then we must place them all together, even if they are played later one after another. This can matter a lot, especially with some fast pieces. On the harp, when it comes to speed, the limiting factor isn't as much about how fast you can pluck, but rather how quickly you can place and move from one area of the harp to the other. That's why it is so important to keep your placing fast, even when you're practicing slowly. Let's use an excerpt from my arrangement of The Water is Wide as an example here. As you can see, left hand plays a half note, or a minim, and that can look like a short break after the faster notes you play earlier. But if we're practicing slowly, that short break may become a rather long gap. Then the danger is that we will be tempted to move our left hand away from the strings. For example, put it on the soundboard or even further away on our lap. And I don't blame the left hand, because without the support of the soundboard, it has to work quite a bit harder to stay close to the strings compared to the right hand. But that's why we need to pay lots of attention to placing in advance, especially when it comes to the left hand. And anytime we see a longer time value, like the half note here, we need to move either hand to the strings where they need to be next, as soon as we can. This practice strategy requires again some determination, but it is so powerful that you simply cannot afford not to try it. Doing this even once sets a clear path for your hands and how they need to coordinate themselves while playing together. If you can constantly remind your hands to place early and move them fast while playing slow, you will find it so much easier to get your pieces up to speed. The other advantage is that remembering to place hands in advance also makes that slow practice easier, because then it helps you to stay focused right then and there. One of the reasons why slow practice requires so much effort is that it's easier to lose your focus when there are longer gaps between the notes. But when you actively aim to place your hands on the next group of strings, as soon as your hand comes off the harp, having that goal in mind helps you stay more alert and more focused, and that makes your slow practice a lot more engaged and a lot more interesting. Now I'm curious to hear what was your experience with slow practice, and if it didn't quite work for you, which of these tips are you going to try when you give it another go? Let me know in the comments, and remember to subscribe to Coffee Break Harp for more harp tips. I'll see you here very soon. Take care for now, bye!